Welcome to Ahead of the Game, a podcast brought to you by the Digital Marketing Institute. I'm your host, Will Francis, and today I'll be talking to Luann Wise about LinkedIn. Luann is a leading marketing authority with over 20 years experience in agency, client-side and consultancy roles working across loads of different sectors. She's a specialist in social media, and Luann has trained thousands of business professionals across the world via open social media training courses and in-house programs. She's a course instructor for LinkedIn Learning and also an accredited trainer for Facebook and Instagram. Luann is author of a series of award-winning books about social media, and she's currently working on a new title, Smart Social Media, for Bloomsbury Business, and that's going to be published in September 24. Luann, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
LinkedIn. That's a great topic to take on. It's one I've been waiting a while to really dig deep into again. We did cover it a couple of years ago, and it's we're really ready for a refresh on that. Just to start, tell us about you and your history with LinkedIn.
Yeah. So I will say I love LinkedIn for many, many different reasons. And what I love about, my role as teaching and training and being on podcasts and things is it actually really makes you think about things and reflect on things. So the whole kind of Q&A process is one of, a good experience for everyone, hopefully. And I was able to check, and I joined LinkedIn in January 2008.
Wow.
Someone had told me about this platform and how important it was and what I should be on there, but I was working client side at that time, and I was actually working in the direct mail postal industry. So to be on social media and start getting involved in social media, which was almost a competitor and a conflict, didn't necessarily feel like the right thing to do. But the opportunity of a snow day and to get some of those kind of things you wanted to explore off your list, I set up my account, started networking on it, started kind of posting content on it. And I think also, almost in hindsight, the fact that I did that so long ago, I don't have the fear of doing it anymore. There are still people joining LinkedIn all the time, and the fear of doing it in 2024 versus 2008 is completely different. I was new at the same time as so many others were new and finding their way. So I've been on it a long time and had some really, amazing milestones and results. And I'm not going to talk about those results of being, I've had this amount of leads and this amount of business, but more what I like to refer to as pinch me moments. And some of those have been directly with LinkedIn. In 2015, I was contacted by their PR team, inviting me to be involved in their International Women's Day campaign as one of the most engaged marketers on LinkedIn. That was an amazing email to receive. In 2016, I was invited by LinkedIn to become a LinkedIn Learning course instructor, to write some courses for the platform. Got to go to Los Angeles a couple of times to do those recordings. Mid-COVID, no travel, big black box, headset and everything. So I've been involved with LinkedIn from a user perspective, building my own business because I did leave corporate world in that time and set up my own consultancy, to actually working with them in terms of creating content as well.
Wow, you must have seen so much change in the platform. Because 2008, I probably joined about the same time, and it was essentially, it was kind of like your online resume, your online CV, as we say here. Yeah. But it's become so much more of that. How would you sort of, concisely typify or describe the trajectory that LinkedIn's gone on?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting one because we always see posts and have conversations about LinkedIn has changed. Facebook has changed. LinkedIn is now this. And you kind of think, it's a piece of software. It's tech. It's not a human being. I think it's more about how its users develop and want features, and then how the amazing engineers that sit behind the platforms know what we need either in response or proactively, and build the platform along the way. But I think there is, one really big shift, and it's not that it doesn't exist. It's just the fact that it's not just about our CV or resume anymore. It's not just about, I'll go on there when I need a job and I'll copy and paste my CV. I'll get a new job done until the next time and I need to move on. A lot of the work and the conversations I have is like, it is a valuable business networking tool. And I don't think business networks have ever been more important in terms of how people get discovered, how they do business together. So I think we should see it as a tool. People adopt it at very different rates and they have very different purposes for it, whether it is a job that they're looking for, or they're looking to recruit, or they're looking to set up their own business, or they're a salesperson looking to build a pipeline. I think it has so many different roles to play. It's about, and I think that's what we're going to explore, it's about how it can work for you and not how you necessarily need to fit in.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because you see these posts about how LinkedIn can work for you and how to be famous on LinkedIn and stuff like that. And you're absolutely right. It's not really one size fits all, is it? So that might not be the right thing for you to do with it. But just let's lay out, what are the key things we'd use it for today? Who would get the most out of it today?
Yeah, so I will start with job seekers. And I will say that because I do a lot of work with universities, and going into universities, whether it's second year undergraduates that just starting to think about getting placements, whether it's final year students that are thinking about graduate outcomes. So it is a career tool very early on to kind of stake your place online, where there are millions of people available to search it, finding a job. But then when you are in a job role, using it for, I kind of list benefits from industry insights, business news, making connections, staying in front of people that you're connected to, nurturing those and building relationships. And ultimately, I think it's about visibility. It's, from the comfort of a desk, whether it's an office or home, or, if you're a digital nomad, you can access this platform and be visible online to your target audience, your referrers, partners, potential suppliers that you're looking to work with. It is almost that. Let's shift it from a resume CV to it's your ultimate real-time, always up-to-date Rolodex.
So all aspects of my work life can play out and benefit from LinkedIn, essentially. That's what we're saying here, isn't it?
Yeah, if you want it to. It doesn't have to be all of those things, and it'll be different things to you at different stages of your career or different stages for your business, depending on what phase of growth you're in.
Yeah, that's very true, that, isn't it? One day you're being hired and the next day you might be hiring people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might be a salesperson.
Or looking for a new supplier or partner or solution, or needing to read a piece of industry news that's suddenly going to impact your business.
Yeah, and it's funny that LinkedIn's being talked about so much these days, right? It's over 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's proof that slow and steady wins the race, right? It's the tortoise and the hare and the tortoise, isn't it? And it's just been there year after year, and it's really come to dominate the social media landscape along with a couple of other big platforms. Why is that? What do you think has generated this surge in interest in the last couple of years?
Yeah. So I think you're right. I do hear about there being a surge of interest, but I do think it's about a steady race, and it's when people have almost needed this tool in their lives. If we do look at the stats, slow and steady, yes, one of the oldest social media platforms in terms of launch, but it's certainly nowhere near the biggest in terms of monthly active users or user numbers. It's not bigger in terms of user numbers. But I think what's really helped LinkedIn is that their mission and vision when they started out have stayed true. And they talk about it's being about creating economic opportunity for the world's professionals. I think what they have done is almost like stay true to their purpose about this being a business-to-business networking platform. We will talk about some other features as we go, but they haven't really strayed into too many other areas, which is almost like people have found the role for LinkedIn for them as they've grown in business or their career as well. It's there for them at the right time.
Well, it's true that they've been quite careful with their product, because if you took screenshots of LinkedIn from 20 years ago and looked at it now, I mean, not a huge amount has changed. Obviously, it's changed, but it's not changed so radically as other platforms. And they've been quite careful with the introduction of new products. So, LinkedIn Stories came out and then was canned. They've got this sort of TikTok style video product that they're currently testing, and we don't even know if it will make it out of the gates into being a product for everyone. Or maybe it will, and it will last a few months, and they're brave enough to can it if it's not doesn't fit that central vision. So I suppose they've been quite careful, and rightly so, with their product, because as we see, platforms can over diversify. They become 10 different things. People lose interest. They forget why it's even there anymore, right?
And I think that's almost the nature of LinkedIn, is that when people are using LinkedIn, they're there very focused and with intent about...
They're clear why they're there.
Yeah, they're there
not
for their
like TikTok
career.
Or something.
They're there for their career, or to learn something, or to do some business development or social selling. They're not there to while away the time and be entertained, like you said, on TikTok. It's very intentional, people's reasons for being on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's true. So let's talk about that. So because we need to acknowledge that when we are posting content there, people are in a different mindset.
Yeah.
So they're not there to fill time while they're waiting for a bus or waiting for the ad break to finish on TV. What is that mindset, and how can I engineer my presence and my content for that?
I think there's the elements of learning something new, whether that's, like I said, industry news, or what your competitor is up to, or whether someone has changed jobs. There's kind of input and information, but there's also business networking and connections. And perhaps your comment about, LinkedIn has changed and we're talking about it more. Dare I say, the pandemic, it put us all into our homes and we couldn't go out to business networking events face to face and have those conversations. Meetings were limited. You couldn't really go on client sites even once people had returned to the office. So I think it's about that business networking tool and people realizing the value of their networks as well for referrals. As I've said, that's where LinkedIn is. It is intentional. And I think one of the biggest shifts that I've had on LinkedIn since 2008 is who I want to connect with. And I was very intentional about it very beginning. It was like I would only connect with people I'd met or had a conversation with. I wanted to keep it very, very closed and focused so that I could refer and, stay in front of, a small group of people. And as I've evolved, my business has evolved, the world has evolved. It's like, no, I'm much more open to connecting with people that I haven't yet met, or sending messages to people that I haven't had, any interaction with previously, to build my network globally as well. So it does evolve.
Interested in that. Should I accept every connection request?
Not every connection request. I think going back to, we're on LinkedIn for a clear purpose and a clear role. One of your questions to yourself should be, who do I want to be engaging with on this platform? Do I want to be connected to them? Can they add value to me? Can I add value to them? I would say there's very few people that I probably don't connect with. And if I don't connect with them, it's because maybe they don't have a photo. They don't, it might look like a fake profile, or dare I say their headline is I make people millionaires in 24 hours. It's so salesy and spammy that I kind of think, no, that's not for me. But I am really much more open to kind of connecting with more people and seeing what happens, but then also managing that. So if I do connect with people, and I always send messages and thanks for connecting, how might we be able to help? Would you like a chat? But almost like if they start posting content that fills up my feed with noise, I'll skip the ad breaks and I'll unfollow them and keep things neat and tidy. So I'm probably more open to accepting, but I will do some housekeeping as well to eliminate those that perhaps weren't the right fit.
So thinking about the way that you use it, you talk about accepting connection requests. Do you have a little kind of routine of engaging with others and sending out connection requests every day? Is that sort of part of the sort of that slow and steady growth on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm going to call it a habit, and a habit that I've got into as much as, if people remember when email was introduced, as to when you go in and check your emails and how you manage your inbox. For me, it's a habit, and it's kind of lots of small tasks, little and often. Some of them take more thinking and consideration, but some of them are nice kind of coffee break tasks. Well, I think if we think about this LinkedIn as this business networking tool, it means it's not just about, I need to post. I need to write a post. I need to push it out there, maybe check back in and see if I get any comments, but it's not write a post, that's your job done. I actually spend so much of my time on LinkedIn between meetings, or as my diary allows. It doesn't need to be really strict, but in terms of, following up on people that have sent me a connection request, having a look at people who's viewed my profile, because I have that option as part of a premium account. If I host an online event, a LinkedIn Live, I will make sure that I follow up to people that have registered for that event and send them a little note. It's social, so I am social a lot of my time with messages that you won't see if you look at my profile, but kind of sending those connections or sending thank yous or spotted this, thought you'd like it. I'm kind of, I'm a messenger on LinkedIn in a, it is a business platform, but it's slightly less formal than an email. So I'm always connecting. I'm always following up. If I'm researching something, I'll go to LinkedIn and check them out, or check the organisation out. If I'm speaking at a conference, I will go through the entire conference agenda and I will message the speakers and say, I'm looking forward to it. Hope to catch your session. I will work it, I guess, around everything else I do in my business.
So you use LinkedIn Premium. Most of us use the free version.
Yeah.
So we can't see so many people who viewed our profile and what have you. But anyway, aside from that, so what do you do when you see people have viewed your profile? Do you get in touch with them?
Yeah, so I kind of do a few things. And again, this is like the habit and the process that I've got myself into. So, we connected on LinkedIn in preparation for this session.
We did.
I sent you a message saying, looking forward to talking
you.
about the podcast, and you replied.
Yeah.
We're now first level connections. If we don't speak for 3 months after this, and I see you looking at my LinkedIn profile, because I know that you're a first level connection, it will have first next to your name, and I will recall how we met and what we've done. I'll send you a message going, hi Will, saw you had a look at my LinkedIn profile this week. How are you? We really must catch up. Or try and refer to something, or didn't the podcast get some great feedback? Kind of something like that. So you will kind of go, oh, if you hadn't sent me a message as a result of looking at my LinkedIn profile, I'll kind of take control of the situation and go, wonder what he was up to. Let me give it a nudge.
Yeah, nice.
If it's someone that I haven't met, sometimes you can work out while they're having a look at you. Maybe they're coming to an event or checking you out, or maybe it's, it is completely cold. I'll try and have a look and try and work something out. But very often, and I don't do this like within the hour of them looking, I'm not trying to be a stalker back, I'll probably batch my time. And quite often I do this on a Friday afternoon with a kind of, hi, name, saw you had a look at my LinkedIn profile this week. Was there anything specific you were looking for? Hope you've had a good week. That kind of, hope you've had a good week. Just small conversations. But I kind of figure, if someone's had a look at my profile, that's my objective. I want people to look. If they haven't sent me something, it's not too much effort for me to just send a small little note saying, can I help you with anything? Or,
True.
How can I get in touch? And you say that is a premium filter, and it is a feature. It's not a lot of money if you are active on LinkedIn. That's the cost of me leaving the house and going to a breakfast event. The cost of that a month is, if you're working it is good value.
True. And like everything really, like remarketing. So when people visit your website, them getting ads or emails saying, "No, don't forget to come back." And wherever you look in sales of marketing, unless you are proactive and you start a conversation with people, and they will just wander off, and even if they really want what you do, they'll sort of forget about it, won't they? And they're very likely to, or they might end up talking to someone else about that. So you're right to be proactive for sure. So that's great. That's really interesting. And building a bit of a picture of what you do. And so when you go down the feed, you're quite proactive about reacting and commenting on content. What specifically do you do around content that you see in the feed?
Yeah. So this is, again, the mindset that you're on LinkedIn, is that I would say I'm very mindful that when I'm looking at content in my newsfeed, I do keep it streamlined by what I want to see and who I want to see it from, and do some regular housekeeping, as I've said, of kind of unfollowing. But I'm very conscious that if I interact with things, it's for one of two reasons. One, I want to engage with the person that's done that content, versus I want everyone else in my network to see this because I think it will be of value to them. It's, you know, it's got to be one of those two reasons.
Yeah.
And if it's not one of those two reasons publicly, I might do something with it privately. You know, if I saw something that was relevant to this conversation afterwards, I don't need to do it publicly. I could, you know, private message it to you and say, we were just talking about that. So I think it's, again, it's having quite a clear purpose of, I either want to engage with that person, say congratulations or well done or love this. Well, it would be my ideal world. If I could spend all day just reading comments, I would sit and read comments on posts, because I think you can pick up so much information from reading comments on people's posts.
True.
Whether it is like, oh, who's engaging with this person? I wonder who's in their network, or what did they have to think about this? Or how did, you know, what was the alternative opinion of this? And again, I would say go for the like if you are uncomfortable or uncertain about adding your opinion. And again, I think that comes over time. I've been on there for a long time. I'm okay with doing that. But if I read comments on someone's post and it's just like, great, well done, thanks, you're amazing, I kind of go, there's no value in those comments for me. I want to see some added value. It's almost a bit like, you'll know, you scroll through LinkedIn, you go, oh, someone's got loads and loads of comments, I wonder what's going on. And it's nothing. I kind of think there's a little bit of vanity numbers going on rather than, I would much rather have, as I said, I do a lot of work with universities. If I can get an academic to comment on my post or say I'm sharing this with my students, that one is worth, you know, 1 million likes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love it when people comment and actually just add resources to the post. I think that's the best way to think about it. Like you would, you know, again, I think you can always, I know it's really cheesy at this point, but we often make the analogy of social media as being like a networking event, particularly LinkedIn, like a networking event, right? Yeah. And it's not like when you stood around in a circle with the coffees and, you know, having a chat with people and someone comes out with some great facts. You don't just go, great. It's like everybody else had sort of turned around to go, are you all right, mate? Like, anything else? No? Okay. You know, you're expected to say, yeah, and that also, I saw something similar, which was also cool, right? And that's how conversation works. Yeah. And like you say, the comments are where you see a lot of the value when people do contribute in that way, which is great.
And just to take a step back on that, when I kind of said earlier about, you know, LinkedIn isn't just about posting. When you do post, you want to be thinking about generating that kind of engagement for meaningful value to you and others and everyone in your network as well. I know there will be occasions when it's a congratulations, this is great, this is an amazing thing, and that's okay sometimes. But, you know, if people are there with the mindset and the intention of this is helping my business or my career, I think we want a bit more and we kind of deserve a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of content, broadly speaking, or what kind of presentation of content do you think is effective for driving comments? Yeah.
This is really interesting because, you know, many people listening to this will kind of go, I took ages over that post and it was tumbleweed, versus I did something else and it got loads of engagement and interaction. I think the answer is actually it needs to be a mix overall. It's part of a big picture. You can't do every post the same and expect the same result of every time. I think what I've seen works best and what works well and is actually easier to do is when you are storytelling about you and what you're working on and how you're doing it or what you're reading. And there's 2 posts for me that have generated probably, you know, not that big numbers are the most important, but if I looked back through my feed, what has generated a lot of engagement for me, one is when I went to a business networking event pre-COVID, and I'll share this, it's me in a selfie of an 80-year-old man. But that 80-year-old man was Malcolm McDonald, and anyone that has studied marketing and read textbooks will all sit there and go, I've read Malcolm McDonald's textbooks. And so going to that event and quite purposely like going up to him afterwards saying, can I have a selfie with the book? There was lots of reasons for that. One, I'm keeping my own knowledge up to date. I'm doing it with the Chartered Institute of Marketing. I keep learning. This is where I am. This is what I'm doing. But also it was really easy for other people to interact with it. it was like, oh, I was there too, or I've read all those books, or, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Can't
Yeah.
believe you're still presenting at 80. Hope we're not. It's really easy content for people to interact with. Whereas sometimes there's content that you want to share and you need to share, but actually there isn't much for people to say, or
Yeah.
they don't want to put a big piece of questioning or comments around it, but they clock it, and that's okay, and you may pick it up for other reasons. So in terms of numbers, yeah, engagement, CPD, I've also shared my CPD certificates. This is what I've learned this year, what's on your learning agenda. Almost that there's some content that is easy for people to get involved with because it doesn't reflect too much on them and their businesses, versus you needing to put out, I'm doing this, I'm writing this, I'm looking for people to interview. That's not going to get the same level of engagement. But I think overall, this kind
That's
of
okay.
storytelling, what you're doing, what you're working on, so that people know what you do and you're there for them if they needed something similar. And then it just works with your calendar. If you were to ask me, how do I do it? I literally look at my calendar and go, what am I working on that I could post about? Or, what can I put that's coming up? What can I, search for because I need it for something? And as I said earlier, I just kind of integrate it with what I'm doing rather than seeing it as this kind of standalone, isolated task.
Yeah, I think that's just key. I think that is the key.
Yeah.
Ultimately, right? Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, have you got a sort of benchmark of engagement rate that you hope for on your average day?
I think the answer to this is it will depend on the nature of the post and what you're looking to achieve. So if it's kind of, if my diary's been a bit quiet and it's like, oh, I've read something because I want to be consistent, showing up consistently is important. But some posts will be about an event sign up. So therefore, the benchmark, the measure of the success of that post is, do people sign up for the event? When we do a post to share this podcast, it will be how many people click on that link to go and listen to the podcast and give some feedback. So I think it's about every post will probably have a different purpose, but there's an ultimate kind of big picture of people know who I am, they know what I do in my core topics, and if they need me, they can get in touch easily. So it's not, I don't look at individual posts, but I kind of look at a pattern and what I'm trying to achieve with something.
And you think that's why consistency is important? You think it is important to show up regularly so that you stay visible? Because obviously this is yourself from training like I do, that it's one of the most common questions. How often should I post? Is it quality or quantity?
Yeah.
And of course it's both, right? In an ideal world.
Yeah.
What do you tell people about quality versus quantity?
I think if you've got something to say it. Don't sit and go, oh, it's a Friday morning, I need to have done my third post of the week. What shall I do? Don't post for the sake of it. I think if you can make it a habit, it's easier. But the reason I say make it a habit and align it with your diary, or, fill in some gaps, is because what happens, whether you're running your own business or you're, supporting people in their businesses, workload is never consistent. It's never kind of consistent. Yeah. And the danger that you do see happening, whether it's face-to-face networking events or whether it's online activity, is when people are quiet, they're very active and very visible, then they win some work or get their head down in a project and they disappear again.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to looking at their calendar or their pipeline and they go, oh, I need something else for next month, they suddenly become visible again. And it's this whole kind of yo-yo networking event. People never or very rarely need you on that day. They'll need you at some point in the future. So I think when you can kind of just keep showing up and be consistent, people will recall you when they do need you, and then you can align your own timings. I do hear people go, oh, but I'm really busy, I don't have time to post, and what if I post and then can't deal with it? That's a different problem. Kind of that's a nice problem to have, but people won't necessarily need it tomorrow, especially in business to business stuff. It could be 6 months time. I'm looking at some training in March 2025 already, so I think it's easier on you to develop a habit of consistent posting, and it's also easier on your business and your pipeline and your audience to just show up consistently. And on
Right.
LinkedIn, you don't have to do too much. It could be once a week, it could be once a fortnight.
Yeah.
Showing up can be your own posts, but it can also be about the liking and the commenting as well, because that still keeps you visible. So I would say I think LinkedIn can be quite light touch. It doesn't need to be really heavy.
True. And it's just what can you turn up with? How often can you turn up with something
Yeah,
that's quality and worth its space in the feed? That's the
yeah,
question to ask, isn't it?
yeah.
But you're right about that commenting thing. I mean, I've really kind of tried to dissect, not literally, but
Yeah.
to dissect creators on LinkedIn, and how they do what they do, and how
Mm.
people who clearly are very growth focused, how they grow. And a lot of them clearly, if you go to their profile and you look at their activity and you look how much they're commenting,
Hmm.
they're usually commenting a lot. They're showing up. And it's a reliable way to show up in your niche, isn't it? To
Yeah.
comment on the most popular content in your niche. And that's clearly a big part of the
Mm.
picture. Just
Mm.
like any other social analogy we want to make, it's
Yeah.
it's a back and forth kind of a two-way thing. But that's a nice a good time for me to sort of jump into the company
Mm.
side of it, because it's
Okay.
less clear there.
Yeah.
How do you ideally behave as a company page on
Hmm.
LinkedIn? And I can't imagine that is a lot of commenting and things like that. What should we be doing?
Um, my answer to this topic often changes, and the reason it's kind of changing is because LinkedIn do seem to be adding new features to company pages. But if we kind of go back to the core of what a company page is, it's a presence for an organization to set up a page, to add their logo, to fill in the about and where you're located and how many staff you've got, etc., because people can search for company pages. It's also something that individuals can connect themselves to in the experience section of their profile.
Yeah.
I work here, I've attached myself to the company page. So that's how the kind of personal profile is set up in the CV like element. And then the company page not only has all the about descriptions that someone has set up, but then you can also search by people. So it's kind of a search thing. But in terms of, the challenge for a marketer is that you cannot do a lot with a company page. Yes, you can attract followers, but it's quite hard to do that. That's a whole nother task. When I've done a lot of work in the past, and again, this is as company pages change, when I've done a deep dive into who follows a company page, yes, by default, it's employees. And if you're a very large organization, that will be a significant number of employees on that company page. But it's also students, it's competitors, it's other people within the industry. And in fact, even years ago, I did an exercise where I took a lead list, I took pipeline list, I took the list of people that had attended a trade show over 3 days to see if they were in the company page followers. And they weren't. I actually couldn't find clients or prospects in that company page. People connect with people. They
Yeah.
connected with the individual they met on the trade show stand or the conversation they'd had. So it's quite a tough dynamic to kind of go, why would I follow a company page? Well, that's because I want to see, like the PR kind of news stuff,
Yeah.
versus my relationship, my face-to-face cup of coffee, my conversation is with a person. So I actually am going to connect with a person, and I'm more likely to remember their name than potentially the organisation that they work for. So there's this whole dynamic. However, if you're a one-person business, I still believe you should set up a company page, fill in all the information, add it to your experience section of your profile with your logo. Don't leave it as like a grey box.
Yeah.
People may search for you from your company page. Make sure you've got that presence. I don't post content onto my company page. However, an organisation, maybe 5+ people, I would consider using your company page from a marketing perspective as like a content hub, so that you post those news stories, those testimonials, those case studies, those product launches, but more for the point of getting your employees to then share that out to their networks. So it's more of a resource for your employees, your referrers, your partners as a content distribution tool than trying to get real engagement from prospects, customers, etc. on the
Got
company
you.
page. And
Yeah.
LinkedIn supports that with with data. This whole employee advocacy, people will click through content from a personal profile more than they will from a company page. They will share it more from a company page. And also, if I was to add up, even at the DMI, I would imagine that every individual that works for the DMI has got more connections personally than followers of the company page. So there's more reach and opportunities when people share content than a company page. But as I said, LinkedIn are giving company pages a few more features coming up, but I still don't think it's going to replace that.
What are they?
So, some of those features are around, you can now message company pages.
Right.
So it's a setting, but people could now message a company page. So it wouldn't just be you can't interact with a company. You can now.
Interesting.
However, the only messages I've seen come through to company pages are quite spammy, sales-heavy messages. I haven't seen kind of authentic interactions come through to company pages yet, but it could be useful for recruitment. You can also have quite a lot of analytics on your company page as well, in terms of competitors and content and who's viewing and driving traffic and things like that. But ultimately, these additional features I think are quite small. If you were to look at the time you spend on LinkedIn, I think it all still does sit with a personal profile.
Interesting. That is very interesting, isn't it? LinkedIn clearly don't see it as a problem that company pages don't get a lot of engagement. LinkedIn want it to remain a human first space, not a corporation first space. So, but the company page, like you say, it is still so central in terms of like it's a shop window for recruitment. It's a way to find people that work for that company, etc. But it is increasingly becoming a hub for this employee advocacy bit. Let's just unpack that. Yeah. So it's the company can sort of facilitate and encourage the sharing of content by employees. And they recently added this My Company area, which is only available to companies of a certain size currently. How does that work?
Yeah. So this is actually... It works great from a marketing perspective when you can explain to your colleagues what it means and why they should get involved and how they should get involved. If we backtrack to, LinkedIn originally, CVs, resumes, recruitment, you can be faced internally if you're trying to get employees involved with, but I'm not looking for a job, am I? What's happening? Versus, this isn't my job, I'm not in marketing, why do I need to do this?
Yeah.
So there's a whole kind of sell-in piece to do internally, like I just said about why personal profiles have the power over a company page. If you can get them involved in that, that's helpful. There's then there is a challenge that this is someone's personal profile. They own it. How far can a company control it or ask you to do something? That's also a personal opinion, and it is your own self that you're putting out there. And one way I've got around this is having conversations of almost like having to say, I know your CV's there, but actually this isn't about you, finance director, John Smith. This is about your role as the finance director of this organisation and helping the organisation to get the content out to network. So it's almost encouraging people to disengage them quite so much of their personal side of it with their job role and how it can help them as a job role. So
absolutely, I get that. I do think you're right. Some people have this kind of like, ooh, no, that's my social media page, you can't start taking that, I'm just turn up from 9 to 5 and do my job. And it's like, well, this role has some element of public facingness about it, and if you want to sit in that seat, that's part of it. I suppose that does need to be optional, if it doesn't it? If unless it's part of the hiring process and the information in the hiring process, well, that's fine. But if you actually put that on someone who's been there for 10 years and say, right, suddenly you're a public facing member of staff, I don't think that's quite as okay, is it?
It depends how you go about it, and this is when the kind of, you can't just send an email around an organisation saying, we want you all to be active on LinkedIn, please share this.
No.
You've got to do that buy-in. You've got to do that sales pitch and do it. And then
that happens a lot, by the way. The Slack channel, like, we've just posted this. Can everybody like, comment, reshare? It's like, that's not employee advocacy.
No, you've got to not only, pitch it to them, you've then got to empower them, and you've got to show them exactly how to do it. And when you do show them exactly how to do it and how little time it takes up, or, a quick win, hit the like button. That's all we're going to ask you to do. That's okay. Then you get some others that are more comfortable with other things. But what you need to do, or what I've found works best, is you'll always have a few champions that really want to get involved and understand this. Then you gamify it internally. Because if you have regular conversations about it and one person goes, I just got this, or this just happened, someone else will kind of sit up and go, oh, what's that all about? And I want a piece of this. And then, I've been as far as league tables with sales teams and rewards of, if you can actually really change the way that you social sell within an organization, or use this as a tool, which many organizations had to do, again, during COVID, when you can't go out to business networking events. If you can build this into how you work, like I do for my own business, you can bring people on board. But some will jump in really quickly, like have been doing this by themselves already and really appreciate the extra help.
Yeah.
Some others you might just need to work with one-to-one and take them through. And it's not an age thing, it's not a generation thing. Sometimes it's a technology thing, but sometimes it's as simple as going, if you want to share this link, this is how you do it. People don't necessarily know how to do it. This is like us learning how to use PowerPoint or Excel. It's how we can use this tool. And if you help people do it, then you can get them in the, we've got this hub of content, we've got this new stuff coming out. It's all there for you in my company tab or on the intranet or something. But you've got to do it in phases. You cannot do this in a 3-hour training session. It's got to be an ongoing employee advocacy program.
And what's the upside for the employee?
So this is about their career and their development as well. It is a tool in their kit. It can help their own career and their knowledge. It can help their prospecting, what they're doing. They can learn more. They can increase their personal brand and their visibility and their worth to their current employer and their future employer as well. Yeah.
Okay, and thinking about this personal branding a bit more, there's this thought leadership stuff going on LinkedIn at the moment. I don't know a huge amount about it. These thought leadership ads. Yeah. What's going on there? What's that?
I love this whole concept, but let's just strip back personal branding, because I think, again, talking about to employees who are potentially non-marketers, this whole, I have a brand and a personal brand, and does it feel like a latest buzzword or a concept? And it does, and it is in our everyday jargon now, but really it's always existed, and everyone has a personal brand, whether we think about it or not, because it is, as Jeff Bezos said, it's what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
So it's not even just a social media or online thing. This has always happened in the world, hasn't it? You always, have opinions or referrals. This is more about how you present it and communicate it. And I think the concept of thought leadership ads, which I'll explain, does actually support the way LinkedIn works in terms of what I was saying about personal profiles and company pages. Now, the challenge of it all being built on a personal profile is that an individual cannot run ads from a personal profile, but a company can. And very, traditionally, any companies running ads on LinkedIn would be about white papers and getting a download, or an event and a sign up, or free trial to some software, perhaps, quite broad and quite large scale. It'd be about a product. However, individuals are sharing lots of brilliant content out there. So the concept of a thought leadership ad is that a company page can effectively put money behind an individual's post.
Yeah.
And this could be, when it first was launched, could be someone within the organisation, so an employee. Now it has been rolled out to non-employees. But don't be alarmed. It's not just like, any organisation could take my post and promote it. They have to ask permission. So if you were within LinkedIn Campaign Manager and wanted to set up an ad, which is basically putting more money behind an individual's personal profile post, there's only a couple of formats you can do, single image and video, I think, at the moment. You would go and find that person's post. So, Will, I could find your post from my company page. and I would send you a notification saying, Will, I would like to advertise your post, put some budget behind it. You could then say yes or no. If you said yes, I could put some money behind it. Within organisations, I've seen this used like a new CEO has joined, done an announcement on their personal page.
Nice.
And then the page has promoted it.
Yeah.
What I think for non-employees could work really well is, for example, for events. And if you have external speakers and the external speaker has done a post about, I'm going to be speaking at this event, this is what I'm going to be doing, etc. The event organizer from their company page could put some money behind that speaker's post to push it out further to their target audience. So
yeah,
unless you're potentially like us, who's really like looking on LinkedIn, looking for this promoted by, you probably wouldn't notice it. But I think it's a really nice way for individuals' content to get pushed out versus a software demo kind of ad.
Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? I mean, the mechanics of it are very similar to like brand partnership ads on Instagram, where there's a consent required from the creator and the brand, and they mutually consent that the brand is going to promote the creators. And I can see that LinkedIn probably had an eye on that as well, that, you know, creator influencer kind of use case. I mean, I was even thinking there, like maybe, I don't know if it's a bit much, but like testimonials, you know, if you had a person from the client's business raving about the service you just provided. I mean, if they were friendly to you, you could say, would you mind if I just stick a bit of budget behind this? I want loads of people to see what you've just said on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And as a result, by the way, you'll get seen by loads more people. So win-win,
get some new
right?
connections, build your own network.
Yeah. So that's actually, I'm thinking that ways I would use that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So that's a clear sign that LinkedIn are acknowledging that it's the people in the business that grow the brand ultimately, like you say, that add up to more than just the company brand. Do you think that opens the way for people to get more, like creators to get more aggressive about growth and put money behind their profiles? Do you think we'll see a bit more of that, perhaps?
So interestingly, and sorry to pick up on this, that LinkedIn are dropping the phrase creators.
Indeed, yes.
Because they have switched off their creator mode to give everyone the same features that you had by doing that switch.
Yeah.
And I listened to a podcast a while ago from people at LinkedIn that said, we're kind of ditching the word creators because business professionals using the platform didn't necessarily resonate with the term creators in the way that Instagrammers and TikTokers would see themselves as creators. So I think there's a slight switch from that. But in terms of, you know, people who are, maybe I'd use the term community builders, putting money behind building their community and their networks. In that way, we see some amazing people building amazing communities on LinkedIn with large numbers, that perhaps there's a slight shift from creators into community builders that could use that kind of thought leadership content.
True. I think LinkedIn might struggle to get creators to call themselves something different personally, but you know, but yeah, I get that. That's very interesting. So LinkedIn have been implementing quite a few new AI features recently. What are they, and are they worth using?
Some of the AI features are mostly for premium users, so they're kind of adding it as a benefit when you pay for it. In a premium account, some of that is around helping you write your profile, write content. What it says at the bottom is, you know, would you like some AI assistance with this? I've tried it and I've tested it, and it rewrites it, and I would say, no, it was fine as it was. Thank you very much. You know, I don't actually see that it aligns with some LinkedIn best practices. For example, I tried to get it to rewrite my headline and it just defaulted to my job title at company name from the experience section. Whereas anyone that kind of trains on LinkedIn or talks about LinkedIn goes, no, maximize your 220 characters with something more, you know, value added. So the AI assist that I've tried, I wouldn't upgrade your LinkedIn profile just for the purpose of having some AI writing assistance. If you wanted that, go outside, copy and paste it in.
Totally.
If you are in recruitment, jobs area, careers, does again have some AI features helping you write job descriptions, etc. Haven't tried those out, but I can imagine that it's quite formulaic. There is an ad type now around using AI. So LinkedIn recently, along with some other advertising changes, they took away the ability to use lookalike audiences.
Yeah, saw that.
To match up like your existing data and find more of the same. And they're saying their advice is that you can replace that by using their predictive audiences, which is using AI to find more of the same based on previous engagement data rather than lists. So again, not too sure about that one. I guess the feature that everyone will have seen potentially is collab articles on LinkedIn. You may have received invites to participate to collab articles. This is where at LinkedIn, they have used AI to start off an article, a blog, effectively. Then they are inviting users to kind of contribute to that. And then when you contribute actively and regularly, you can get a badge on your LinkedIn profile. I think personally the concept of that is great. However, the AI generated collab articles I've seen have had so many mistakes in them that it's made me very dubious. And also there's that credibility check of who are these people that are kind of contributing to this. And an early one that I saw, which is kind of why I started leaving them alone, was around how to run a competition on social media. And I knew the advice in there was actually not even legal, compliant, didn't match up with the terms and conditions on Facebook, etc. So it just kind of made me doubt the quality of them. And maybe that's the downside of AI is it's very good at generating, but you do still need to fact check. So for me, I like the overall concept. I know that people like badges and things like that, but there's a quality indicator on there. So again, if you were time limited, it wouldn't be the first thing that I spent my time on LinkedIn. Right. Hopefully the quality will improve over time. Everyone's experimenting with AI.
Yeah. Okay, good. A mixed bag there. Interesting to hear about. Thanks. So, as we always do with our guests, I'd love to wrap up with really asking you for some actionable tips. Now, some of those things may well be repeating things that you've already said, and that's fine, by the way. But just give us a good, generous handful of actionable tips to get started with building our personal brand on LinkedIn.
When you're looking at your profile, and maybe you did set this up as a copy and paste of your CV or your resume or updated it when you last changed job, go at it with a fresh mind now that this is a business tool piece for you. Think about who your profile is for and write it for them. So who is it you want to be connecting with or viewing your profile or discovered by? This is not just about a recruiter and your next employer sharing what you do in your job. This is your target audience or your network of referrers and partners. So refocus your profile on an audience and make sure it's written for them and how you help them, how you serve them, how you add value to them, rather than it being so CV-like. Unless you are looking for a job, in that case, it should be CV-like, but turn it into this business tool that will support everything else that you're doing. It's a living document. So again, while you may update it when you change jobs, or you may listen to a podcast or watch a webinar or do some training, it's not then just I'll do everything I've just learned, tick, job done. I have reoccurring appointments in my calendar every 3 months that says, is your profile up to date?
Nice.
Do I need to tweak anything? And just things like, if you are launching something or doing something. So you said my new book is coming out in September. I will consciously in September make sure that I update my header image with a picture of the book. I'll make sure that I add it to the publication section. I may do some live events around it. And use your calendar to drive your content. Narrate what you're doing, what you're working on. It's much less stressful to do it that way. And then my final point would be, it is not just about posting content on LinkedIn. Be social and spend time messaging, commenting, all the little behind the scenes tasks that you can do in small batches throughout your working week.
Nice. And just for listeners' benefit, there will be a link to a downloadable little mini guide to that routine, as suggested by Luann in the show note. Well, look, thanks. I feel like we've taken a lot of your time. I've learned a huge amount. I've got a long to-do list now in terms of optimising my LinkedIn, but thank you, and hopefully so do our listeners. But Luann, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to chat to you, and I hope to chat to you again soon.
Thank you. If not face to face, then on messages.
Indeed, yes. Perhaps on LinkedIn, perhaps in a LinkedIn live event or something.
Yes.
Who knows?
Do it.